Shack, and we're gonna do another podcast too. It's always a struggle. Last one we just randomly just threw it out there. This time we'll try and do it nicely in a nice order. Anyway, as you guys know, I'm your boy Ace, and we are joined by a few people. So if you guys would introduce yourself, we have Dondi in here. He can't introduce himself because he just went off. So we'll start with Tim.
For Bobian in the Struggle Nation chat, I'm the mean guy that gets rid of people, and
Grammar Nazi.
And I'm Bushido808 on Twitch if you ever watch me.
Follow him.
Follow.
That's it. And subscribe. And then if you subscribe to him, tell me so I can get commission, and then we can do business.
Get a commission, and then you get a lifetime vacation from my chat.
That's it. Next.
Harley. I'm the guy with the weird voice over the internet. I come from a remote place in the middle of the Mediterranean, and basically that's just me.
Go on holiday there. It's cheap. Next.
Hi, I'm DarkBladeXX. I'm part of Struggle Nation. If you're looking for me, I'm pretty much the same name on almost everything.
See, Darkblade, if you stream, tell him, message him on Discord. See this guy here, he will finish. Listen, any game, if you want the game, just tell him, he'll buy it for you. Don't worry. Anyway, and lastly, go on.
I'm Ashwin, Green God. I'm a writer, and this is my first VC, but let's see how things go.
Welcome. And where are you from?
I'm from India.
We got another person from. Anyway, so hello.
Is one silent, or is it just me?
Why have I gone silent on the flipping? I've gone silent on the VC. They can't hear me.
But I'm pretty sure that Ace did say that we got another guy from India.
They can't hear me. Let me try and join back in.
Seems to be
It's a struggle. This is some bullshit. Why's my thing off? Let me see. Discord better join back in. Why is Discord have to mess up? And I'm not editing this, you know. You guys will be able to hear the struggle. Let me see now. Am I back in?
Yes, you are.
For flip's sakes.
You're back, yes.
Anyway, so it's always a struggle. So the topic of today is: do you think that paid DLC is justified? So when I say paid DLC, I don't know. Would you say microtransactions or DLC?
yes.
I think those are different things.
Okay, we can include.
Microtransactions is
One of them are
DLC.
totally different. Like microtransactions would be something like that's probably in game that'll help boost stats or things like that. But
Yeah.
you're actually expansion to a game.
You don't need DLC for actual microtransactions.
Well, I mean, we gotta be clear on the definition.
Clarify what
But,
DLC is.
DLC is any content released for a game that's already out. So game releases, then content is released for it. Downloadable content.
Okay, so microtransactions, I wouldn't include it then because it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
DLC would be like expansion packs or extra costumes,
Yeah.
or things like that, right?
All right. So my first question with that, because I know people are gonna say a lot of people say that it isn't justified, but my first question is gonna be to make you think. Yeah, what is the best DLC that you've seen or that you've bought that's been released? For me, the best DLC I've ever bought was the Forza Horizon 3 Hot Wheels DLC, and I thought that was worth the money because I think it was only like 10 or 15. And it was like one of the best things I've ever played. I'm like, I can see why this is DLC. They've got a whole new, they built a whole new like area on the game. They had different cars. They made new races. So for me, it was really worth it. Like that was my best paid DLC. So like, what have you guys bought or seen that you think?
I think going back to the original game, not the enhanced version that came out, but I think Borderlands had one of the best DLCs. I think it
General
had
Knox.
four different campaigns in the 1st original, and they all added something to the whole game.
Yeah.
And I think Tim can also say, but it's a
Yeah.
feeling that I got from the streams is also Far Cry had some really good DLC.
Yeah, really, really good added content, and I think what we're all speaking to is value for money. Like I paid, $20 to $30 for a season pass to Fallout 3, and the 4 DLCs that released for that were content rich. Like they gave you hours of added content, and they were like legitimate expansions to the already released full game. And I think that's what's key is people want a full experience first, and then if we really like it and we want to support it, we'll get your added content. Yeah.
That's what I. Sorry, but Ace, I think this we might get into later on. We should talk also about season passes, which is related.
So
I just want to go off what Furburbian said earlier is basically that, I don't know about the best DLC for me, but as for the DLCs I've played recently, I did enjoy the Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man that came off of the PS4 recently, and the DLC was pretty interesting. What I look for in a DLC mainly is like, as you mentioned, more of an expansion into the world. Better narrative, better like smoother gameplay, something that like links it to the primary storyline, but it's a little bit, it gives you more of a gameplay experience. That's it.
Right.
Do you know what I don't like? I think the worst DLCs, the expansions I don't really mind, but I think the worst DLCs is like, for example, Mortal Kombat's done this, which is a little bit annoying, but I don't mind fighting games when they do it, to be honest. But I don't like when the game's not even out yet and you've announced DLC for the game and you've got like a video of the DLC or some shit. Like you're already marketing this DLC. Like, yeah, this is going to go. And I'm like, well, couldn't you technically include that in the game then? Like, why are people, or like pre-orders DLCs? Like, why can't you just include this in the game?
I think that's a valid point, but that could be actually taken from very different angles, and I think it's on a per game basis, because if the developer is thinking, okay, I'm late in the development cycle, I promised in the initial E3 announcement or whatever announcement it was that it will include this, it will include that, but I didn't constrain myself in saying that this will be in the initial game on DLC, and I'm late, I will start to prioritize the main game and then put the extra stuff as DLC. But there have been cases where the story was done, everything was packaged, and they actually found the code already in the game.
Yeah, sure.
Just waiting for DLC package to be opened or bought in order to enable just another little bit. So it depends on how the developer is actually approaching the DLC. Is it because they're announcing the DLC to extend the story? Is it because they're late and they want to chop off some sections of the game? Maybe a different island, an exploring island. Something is sacrificed and then it's announced on DLC. So it depends on the intent of the developer.
I've actually seen that about that. Is so true where they've
You're kind of right. There's like I agree that when you're promoting a game, you should kind of like focus on primarily the game, because I don't see much of a point for you to focus on DLC content when your game isn't out yet, unless, like Harley said earlier, during the game development process they had already fixed that only so much content would go into the primary game. And because they're kind of late into promoting the game, the DLC, they already came up with an idea, but they didn't add it to the game.
But there's some like DLC, like what you guys were saying for the season pass. I don't like season passes because it's like, why am I gonna? First of all, most of these season passes are like the same price as the game, which doesn't make sense. And then second of all, it's like, why am I gonna pay for a season pass I don't even know what I'm getting, because more time they like tell you, oh yeah, this DLC's coming out, but then they won't tell you like every single DLC that's out. Like you don't know what you're getting basically.
The thing is that
depends on how they do it. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I want to hear your opinion as well.
All right. I think it depends on how they lay it out and how they do it. When it comes to certain season passes, some people just throw it out there. Hey, this is the price. We'll let you know in the future what we drop. And then there are companies kind of like people that make Fallout. With Fallout 4, they pretty much let us know what we were getting. So when I got the season pass for that, I didn't really complain too much because it felt like I was getting another game. The DLC was just so good, and there was so much content. Now there was really just 2 big DLCs, and the rest of them were just little packages. But I loved every single one I got. I felt like I got a whole different game, and they let me know ahead of time.
Good point. Yeah.
For me, I think some of the worst DLCs I've seen are, again, ones that don't give you value for content. So the classic offender way back in the day on the Xbox 360 when paid DLC started becoming the norm was the horse armor for Oblivion. So you paid $2.50 for one piece of armor to put on your horse. That's one thing for me, the cosmetics. The second is, and this is a whole different topic that we might want to get into, is the rapid reaching of a goal, like by paying money to unlock every single multiplayer, like say weapon or whatever that does more damage. So legit players get screwed, and people that have extra money, they get to jump ahead.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Whatever. Yeah, that is terrible as well.
Would you classify that as DLC or microtransactions?
It's absolutely
It's DLC.
Again, okay. It's content, right? You're getting content for money, and you have to download it.
Microtransactions would be something like if you're playing an MMORPG or something, and then you buy, I don't know, mana packs or something to boost energy drinks or something.
Yeah. Because I'm at Call of Duty done. I think this Call of Duty done it. The one that's out now is either this one or the last one where you could buy like a weapon skin for like $2 or something, and people are like, "Yo, like, why are you trying to do stupid shit? Where you trying to like, why are you doing that? Like, it doesn't make sense. That could just be in the game, like you." But the thing is, as well, people are buying it, so. Like, if the company was doing it and no one's buying it, then you could say, all right, yeah, they're doing it, but this is stupid because
I think the reason they're buying it is because the brand is, like, really famous, isn't it? That's probably the reason why it's happening.
And there's whales, right?
Okay, I want to, yeah, right. I want to touch on 2 points, though. One is that I usually end up buying games, which are the upgraded edition, which usually comes with the season pass. So that's one thing, because I like having the whole game with all the season pass when I buy it, the deluxe edition or whatever it's called nowadays. There are so many different versions and editions. So for me, the season pass comes part and parcel mainly with the game when I buy it. So it's not, I don't think there was any game that I actually went out and bought DLC apart from when I bought the game. Then the other thing is that when it comes to DLC, one thing that I would really discuss is, do you think that a DLC should be extending as a side story, or it continues the main story? Because there are other aspects to consider when talking about DLC. What is it trying to achieve?
I think a DLC is like primarily trying to expand on the universe that the game has been set in. Like that's, to me as a writer, that's like the perspective I see in. Because when I'm developing a game or when I'm coming up with storyline, I already have like a general idea of which way the narrative is going to be. That's the primary reason for the main game. But when you come to DLC content, that should be more of like side stories or like another perspective through maybe another character, so that world is kind of expanded rather than fixing on the main storyline. Because if you fix on the main storyline, then that's just the sequel or a prequel to the game. It's not exactly DLC.
But some games, So with that example now, there's some game. Well, there's a few games where it's like DLC is really not needed. For example, if you look at Rockstar, the way they make their money, Rockstar never actually really put. I think they've done it once with the Ballad of Gay Tony, and I can't remember the other one where that's been DLC for GTA 4.
The Lost and the Damned.
Yeah, but apart from that, they've never really like GTA 5 had no DLC where it was like they started the microtransaction shit, but they've not like done story DLC, and they've not done it for Red Dead either. And also with God of War, there's not been DLC out. Spider-Man had like a couple DLC, but it's like sometimes I just feel like even though they are expanding some stuff, I didn't ask for no expansion. Like sometimes the game itself, I don't need an expansion. The story's already been told, and the expansion that you're giving me for the story, it either ruins the story because you go on to some extra shit that's like, what the fuck is this? Like, why do we need this? Or it's like, especially with, remember what Capcom used to do, where you used to finish the game and then they'll tell you about the real ending is DLC. That's the shit. I don't like that when you do that stuff. That the real end is DLC. What do you mean the real end is DLC? What the fuck are you talking about?
Think of it. I think when you expand, I think you need to think of it in a more of a. As you mentioned Spider-Man, right? So I would have preferred if instead of focusing on Spider-Man, they focused on the other characters more, rather than focusing on Spider-Man's interaction with them.
But wouldn't that be a total radical change? I wouldn't call that a DLC. It's totally a game from a different perspective.
The Spider-Man universe, like for example, it does take place inside Spider-Man. You do have references to how these characters met Spider-Man, but like you don't have to play as Spider-Man throughout the entire DLC thing. You don't have to do the entire thing because anyway, the main game is you playing as Peter Parker throughout the whole game, right? It would have been made a little bit more sense if you played as some of the other characters and had like cutscenes where you could interact with another character.
Mary Jane. There were times where you switched with Mary Jane, but maybe...
Indeed, there was.
All right, so here's what I think. Let me jump in here for a second. There's a good way to do DLC and there's a bad way to do DLC. I think when it comes to Spider-Man, that's an example of a good way to do DLC because you have a game where the game is so good and the story is so excellent where you don't need it, but any DLC you get is kind of like a cherry on the cake. That's like an added bonus.
Exactly.
And the DLC that they released was incredible. Like it took place after the story, so it didn't really affect what you already did. That's already been told, and whatever happens now happens after the main game. And like when it comes to DLC, you can choose to play it, you can choose to buy it or not. So you don't have to. You can just get the game. The game is complete as it is,
and that makes sense because if people bought the original game and they don't want to buy the DLC, they still have the full story.
Right. They have the full experience.
They still have the full experience. Yeah.
This is what I was saying. You don't hear people complaining about GTA 5's microtransactions, right? Because they sold a full experience. They overflowed with content, and people were like, "We're cool. We're cool with an added,
Yeah, you gave us 100 hours already, so
right." So you have a satisfied customer. But you look at like look at the polar opposite, like Tiger Woods PGA Tour. I looked this up. So they included 36 courses on the game disc. Okay, they were already on there. 20 of them were locked behind a paywall. You had to get 6,000 coins, whatever, which took forever to unlock one round at these secret courses, or you could pay $5 to unlock them. That is a blatant cash grab. I don't know who would say that was okay.
Don't start with EA DLC because EA are the motherfuckers that started this whole shit with this stupid DLC.
And there's always, like you, for Bobby, I did some research, and I didn't play the game personally, but this game is Azura's Wrath.
Yep.
You had to pay to get the ending.
But let me tell you, do you know the only thing about Asura's Wrath though? It was a bit stupid because the ending to Asura's Wrath was okay, like it was satisfactory. And when they said there's hidden ending, it was like you're just being petty now because the ending's okay, but now you're just telling me that wasn't the real ending. You should buy this one because this is the real end. No, I'm not gonna buy that ending because no, that's just what came out with like 3 endings. Like it was ridiculous.
The DLC True Ending DLC. Imagine that. The DLC is called the True Ending DLC.
Like that's terrible. Like I said, there's a good way to do DLC and there's a bad way to do DLC. And recently, when it comes to bad DLC, like bad DLC and Dead or Alive is kind of synonymous right now. that's like the extreme example of how not to do DLC. That's like when you look at it, you look at that $1,200 price point.
I'm hearing about that stupid shit. That's ridiculous.
Ridiculous, and it's all cosmetic. So like you look at it like, okay, so yeah, you don't need to get it because it's all cosmetic, but still offering that much DLC is mind-boggling.
Ridiculous.
It makes no sense because it has no bearing on the game. It's stupid cosmetic stuff. But it's like, what are you doing?
And Capcom do that as well with like,
I think a bad DLC would consist of like content that's not actually value for money, and it also is used to promote the main game instead of being like expanding on the universe, like Drew said earlier.
Do you know who the first to do DLC, in my opinion? Yeah, Capcom were the first motherfuckers to do it. Because technically, they like Street Fighter 2. If you look at Street Fighter 2, there's like 5 versions of Street Fighter 2. There's like Street Fighter Hyper Fighter, then there's flipping, you got arcade editions, and then you got
not really DLC. That's the whole new version of the game.
I mean, it's
you have to buy the whole game over again.
No, but what I'm saying is, yeah, the way DLC is now is kind of like how they used to do it, where you'd have Street Fighter 2, then Hyper Fighter it'd be the same game, but it'd be like kind of a different game. They'll add on a few stuff that will change the game. But then you have like developers now that would give you, for example, maybe like Fallout, they'll give you the game, but then the DLC would be like a whole different game, which I don't mind when they do that, because at least you feel like for that money that I've paid for a new game. Star Wars Battlefront DLC is like $60 for this DLC, and it's just maps and like characters.
3 maps.
Yeah.
Not enough content, because like check it. Like look at Star Wars Battlefront 2. They had, I think, more than triple the maps from the new Star Wars Battlefront. All of it was free. All of it came on the disc. So it's like, guys, you've already set the bar of what you're going to offer us. So why take it away and lock shit behind a paywall?
Yeah.
Because, like, look, people like on GTA 5, the reason why they quote unquote get a free pass, and I've heard developers say this, they say like, well, why does GTA 5 get a free pass? They have microtransactions. No one's talking about their microtransactions. It's because they're genuine about what they're doing. They're not being disingenuous. They're not including the DLC on their disc. They're not locking away the main character, right? Like look at Street Fighter 5. They're locking away Guile. They're locking away.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, you know what I mean. They're relying on these whales. And let's be real here. Microtransactions account for 40% of developers' revenue. So they're selling like hotcakes, and they're making money hand over fist. And that's because of these whales, quote unquote. And if people don't know what I mean by whales, it's people who have so much money and they don't give a shit. They'll buy everything. So anything that comes on DLC, they'll buy every single thing. These are the guys that are out there buying, every single train course in the train simulator, right? Because they have money and they don't care.
The $7,000 DLC game.
Those guys are hurting this DLC market because they're buying everything. So now we don't have a filter. We have no voice. We can't say to a developer, "This is bullshit. We're not buying it." The Witcher 3 DLC, Blood and Wine, that's not bullshit, and we're buying that.
Oh, that was a really good DLC, actually, Blood and Wine. That was a really good DLC. That's what I'm saying, that I like it when it's planned, because some of these like Call of Duty, for example, DLC is bullshit. Because they do it because they want the game to have longevity, so when the next game comes out, you basically like bought the last DLC like a month ago, so you're still kind of playing it. But it's like I don't like map DLCs. I don't like them unless it's something great or amazing. I don't like them.
That's exactly what I was saying. They shouldn't use DLC content to block or try to promote their primary game.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what GTA did. GTA had an entire game by itself. You had 100 plus hours. You could do unlimited amount of content, unlimited amount of other things to do. And even though they have microtransactions, that's only like Drew said, the icing on the cake. It's not a complete necessity, but it does help. Like if you want.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it better. And there's other things, like I know people used to get pissed off about the day one DLC, like DLC that came out the day the game came out, or when the stuff was already on like already in the game and locked behind the DLC.
Yeah.
That's what pissed people off, because it's like you're charging people from the jump. And not all the game is there to play. Like it's just,
and you can't fool the internet anymore. I mean, that whole thing with Capcom blew up in their face because someone checked that disc. They said we're gonna deep dive and we're gonna find out what's up, and they see that the characters are there, and it's like a simple key gen thing, like where they you buy it and then they unlock it.
Yeah, but we're getting fooled. Let me tell you why we're getting fooled. These people, they're so smart. Listen, they've changed the game. Nowadays, if you realize, now they have this 3 days, get the game 3 days early shit. And if you've noticed, everything that they do with that is the deluxe edition. So you have to buy the extra edition with all the DLC to get the game 3 days early. So basically, you're like duped into buying DLC now. No matter what it is, you have to buy the DLC to get it early.
Yeah. So imagine you're some competitive gamer, right? And you want to get this game because you want to level up quick or whatever. And in order to do that, in order to get the game 3 days earlier, which is like a lifetime for someone who pours time into making themselves like a better player, you got to buy it.
Just to add to that, though, I would clearly make a distinction. I have absolutely no issues with that if it's a single player game. If I have no advantage whatsoever in the end game, as in I'm playing by myself, it's a single player game, then I'm fine with that. But then again, it goes, you can then discuss about those who are streaming. They will have access to the game earlier, but that's another story altogether. Yeah, because then
let's get on that.
Most of the important people that stream and are big in the industry get access to games even before that.
Right.
Yeah, but that's what they do that 3 days before, because like even if you're not a streamer, like if I'm excited for a game, say I'm excited for Mortal Kombat now, and I can get it 3 days early, or it's just out there, you can get 3 days. I don't want to be sitting on YouTube. I'm seeing this motherfucker playing. I want to play, so I'm like, yo, let me buy the deluxe edition, and then that it comes with all the DLC. Like that's why it's expensive. But fighting games, I don't know about fighting games with DLC, because what'd you say?
I think it comes down to the game you're buying at the end of the day, doesn't it? Like I pre-ordered Spider-Man for the PS4, and that came with the Spider-Man theme and like a bunch of other DLC content, just like you said. And because I pre-ordered it, I got it like earlier than the release, right? But that depends on the type of game you're playing. So I'm taking a point Harley said, which is that if you play a single player game that's like complete by itself, then like it makes more sense to have DLC pre-ordered inside it itself, because that's just like an extra something that you're getting for the amount of money you're paying. But on the other hand, if you're playing a fighting game like Mortal Kombat or something, where it's not primarily about the single player experience, it's more of like, it's basically more of multiplayer, right? Because like at the end of the day, you want to fight against other people online and see who's better. So that it doesn't make sense in that type of game. At least that's what I think.
You mentioned Mortal Kombat, and I want to pick up on that. And I think Ace mentioned it earlier. Would you consider, like, for example, the fact that they keep adding characters and buying them as DLC a good thing or a bad thing?
Now, with Mortal Kombat, and I was going to bring that up earlier, when it comes to DLC and a good way and a bad way to do it, Mortal Kombat is an example of a good way to do it because, number one, they're putting so much work into the main game, so you're already getting so much content, it's mind-blowing. And then the first DLC character they showed, you can already tell they put a lot of work into that. It's the Shang Tsung from the movie, so you're already giving people something that they wanted. So they see that, they're already going to buy it. And that kind of sets the precedent for the rest of the DLC they're going to come out with. Because you know that each piece of DLC that comes out is going to be incredible. So that kind of like...
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just as a counter-argument to that, and we mentioned briefly this point earlier, if they know exactly and they already have the character done and they've showed it, and the game isn't out yet, shouldn't be part of the game to start with and not be considered as a DLC?
Well, when you see that they put so much into the game already, and then you see that that's DLC, you're kind of okay with that because like you're not getting half a game, and the game is not suffering because
it's true. That's a good point.
There's so much in the game already, and when they do these combat casts, they show you so much, and they tell you there's a lot with this one character we still haven't shown you yet, and you believe it because you know their track record and what they do. So when it's like that, you're okay with it.
Well, help me out. Like how many characters are in Mortal Kombat 11 are being released?
We don't even know yet.
To start with,
I don't think there's a lot. There might be. I think it might be like maybe 15, maybe.
Okay, but I mean, so you get like 15
you have a lot
characters.
of characters for Mortal Kombat. Considering, that the old versus new trailer showed like 2 different versions of the same character.
No. They come as like different different costumes. So it's the same character. They just have different costumes.
Okay.
But I was gonna bring up fighting games anyway, because fighting games obviously always have DLC. But with fighting games like Street Fighter, they done it with like Gaio and stuff, and it's like, yo, are you telling me you can't put Gaio in the game? Like, are you being serious?
This is why I asked how many fighters, because it's like, okay, you get a game that has 15 fighters, you get this complete story mode, which from what I keep hearing is going to be massive in Mortal Kombat 11, right? You have the full online, which is included with the game. That's a complete experience.
And not only that, but you have completely customizable characters. So every character that is there, you have a whole bunch of moves, and you can customize it like about 5-6 different ways.
So you get value for your money.
Right.
So conversely, look at Street Fighter V. It didn't even ship with a story mode. It came with, I think, less than 8 characters.
Yeah, Street Fighter was doo-doo.
It was absolutely horrendous what they did.
But you know my issue with Mortal Kombat? Nah, I love Mortal Kombat. I'm gonna rip it right now. I don't care. Mortal Kombat, especially with X, they done this bullshit as well. They brought out the DLC. The first DLC was Goro for the pre-order DLC, which is BS. Because you're telling me what, Goro's not on this? Of course Goro's on the game. He's in every Mortal Kombat. Secondly, don't tell me they couldn't put Shang Tsung in this game from the get-go. It's Shang Tsung. Like, he's in every Mortal Kombat. You could have added him in the base game. But
just to answer a question, there will be 25 characters at launch. 2 of them already are considered as DLC, which are Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn. Those are DLC coming at launch.
You could have added Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn to the base game. Like, what have you really done to Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn? Why you couldn't have added them?
What if Shang Tsung is not part of the story experience for this game?
I don't think he is. I think Shang Tsung is only in the credits.
That's probably why he's a DLC.
Yeah, but that's fine. But it's not like you haven't had Shang Tsung in your game before. Where like if it's
that's true.
When they put like Jason or Freddy or something, then cool. You need to make a whole new character. You need to make a whole new moveset. You need to think. But Shang Tsung, like, it's like guy you'll be in the Street Fighter 5. Like, you've had the guy in the game before. Like, I don't think you have to do that much work.
Yeah, I mean,
but when you look at it, like, this is not just Shang Tsung. It's a Shang Tsung from the movie. I'm okay with that.
I mean, I'm okay with it because it's true. It's Shang Tsung from the movie. But what I'm saying, Drew, is, okay, his likeness. Okay, maybe you need to, make a new model for his likeness. But this is Shang Tsung. This is like them saying Scorpion's DLC. You'd be like, what do you mean Scorpion is DLC? Like, you've had him in games before. You can't just add the same moveset into Scorpion.
That would be like if they had Liu Kang and it was Liu Kang from the movie. Then that's kind of like a bonus. Then that's okay with being DLC because not only is the likeness, it's the voice and everything too. He voices them. So it's the actual Shang Tsung from the movie. And then you think about it, you can have the old one and the young one. So there's a lot to that DLC character. It's not just a DLC character they're releasing. It's a whole package.
I don't know. Plus, and my problem with that as well, like games that...
For the character, what the role plays, how the character is designed, what are multiple costumes, what moves he has. Like, they have to plan the entire thing and then launch it. So maybe that's the reason they're not launching.
Yeah, maybe. Like, obviously we're talking, I don't know how games are made like that. Or they might have like...
Oh, go ahead.
I was just about to say, like, they might have a specific time that they need to release the game and, like, they can't make this character in time or whatever. So, obviously, I don't know how it's made. But I'm just saying, like, if it's a character that I've seen in the franchise before, it's a bit off for me for them to be DLC rather than someone new who I'm like, okay, I understand why you've made it. Like, Shang Tsung, I'm pretty sure. I don't think his moveset is going to be that much off of what his moveset has been before. But then again, like, I don't know.
I disagree with that. I think it's going to be completely different. I think he's going to steal everybody's moves because remember, he can morph into anybody too. Like, you got the most varied cast of characters they've ever had. So he's going to be way, way better than he's ever been.
Wait, was he in the last, was he in Mortal Kombat X?
Nope.
Oh, okay, all right, cool. He can be DLC then.
I think Darkblade wanted to make a pointer.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, like, when it comes to DLC, you have to think of, like, there's a lot that goes into making a game. You have, like, scheduled dates, and then you have, like, deadlines. So if you have an idea for a game and you're making stuff for a game and you reach that deadline, because the game has to be able to launch and go out and release. So you hit that deadline. Do you stop at that idea, or do you think this idea is so good that you want to keep it going and you want to now make it DLC? Or do you have an idea that's so big and so grand that you automatically just say, we're going to make this DLC?
I think that's
You'd
the
want to
reality
keep
now.
all the main points. You'd want to keep all the main key points for the game as part of the primary game, and all the other extra ideas that you think would bring more value to it, you'd want to add that as a DLC. I mean, that's just what
that's
Tim,
the
after you,
reality.
I have a point, okay.
That's the reality now of game design, right? You have to picture these developers. They know that, say they got a hit on their hands, and they're like, well, people are going to be clamoring for DLC. We got to get working on this now. So it's now baked into the whole design the game development, cycle now. So it's like, we got this game, we're going to ship at this date. Okay, well, we're going to have a DLC. Here's our roadmap for DLC. We got to have this releasing in, say, 6 months to keep people interested and keep people playing. Well, they got to work on that like a year before. They got to have it all planned out, storyboarded, everything.
I think this goes exactly with what I was going to say. It depends when they come out with the idea of the DLC. If they're in the last month and they cannot make the deadline, decide, okay, let's take this chunk out. This is DLC. That's not done right. But if they, from day one, as Gringotts said earlier, if they know that, listen, this story is huge, it's 50 hours already, and we had discussion last week about how long games are and what is acceptable as long game and what's not a long game. So they could make a conscious decision, but those decisions need to be done at the start of the project for them to make sense. If they're at the 11th hour and they're all of a sudden, okay, we're out of time, we're out of budget, what do? We have the last 4 chapters still to do. Okay, let's come up with an ending, and then we think of the original ending and issue it as an through DLC, further on through ending DLC. That's done wrong. That's what DLC shouldn't be.
Exactly.
Not what it should be.
As someone who worked in a gaming company, I'd like to just tell you how how it was for me as a narrative designer, as a story writer, as a writer, basically. I would write the chapters for a game. I would write at least 5 to 6 chapters for a game I've not even designed yet, at least a year before we even went into production. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
so at that time itself, I would know exactly what I want to add, what I don't want to add. And then as I'm going on further with a chapter, the production team would take on the first chapter or the second chapter. And as I move forward, they move on to the previous ones. So that at the end, when we have the final product or like a rough version of it, I can say, okay, this is what I want in it. This is what I don't want in it. This is what could bring value. This is what I could do.
But,
so like,
from that experience, though, have they ever come to you and tell you, okay, we are 3 months behind in our development, decide to check out a storyline, and we make that storyline and the story arc as a different DLC altogether? Has it happened before?
Yeah, I mean, sure. There are always going to be hiccups down the road where like things you won't see coming. There might be like as you mentioned, there might be people who will say, okay, we don't really like this character, or this is not what we have in mind. This is probably what we want to add. If you can come up with a narrative for this character, then maybe you can push it out after the main game is released. Like there's a lot of things that go on into this, and it's not just like one person. I'm pretty sure there's like a bunch of people who doing the same job. Unfortunately for me, because I was working in a startup, because of that, I was the only writer there. But had I had maybe one or two other people, I would have definitely got different opinions and different ways of thinking to be added. And I'm pretty sure in like big companies like the ones you guys have mentioned, this is probably the way it goes around.
And we mentioned a lot Mortal Kombat. 2 of the DLCs that were done by Mortal Kombat have been classified as 2 of the worst examples of DLC. And this goes back to Mortal Kombat 10, the Horror Pack DLC, which obviously I'm not talking from gameplay because I didn't play this, so I'm quoting and from the research that I'm doing while we're discussing this, because it obviously adds to the discussion. It is about when they added Horror Pack DLC, which was just skins. They didn't actually add moves. They just added skins to the characters. So that was basically the same characters doing the same moves, just with a different skin. And this was classified as a Horror Pack DLC. And basically it was just a costume. Would you consider that a valid DLC?
I mean, when it's just cosmetic.
I mean, it's definitely not a valid DLC because it's not something the player wants to play if they're paying so much money into it. But then there's also like higher authorities above the people who are actually making the game, like in terms of like a financial business perspective. So like they would make the calls as well. So like sometimes they make bad judgment calls and you still go through with it because that's just how games are made.
And ones like that, they don't hurt the game because it's up to you whether you want to buy it or not. Like it doesn't affect the story, it doesn't affect the game. It's just completely cosmetic. So like I can see it. I'm like, well, this is BS. I don't want it, and I can skip it. So it's not a necessity to have.
It doesn't anything, as you said.
Yeah, it has nothing unless you just want cosmetic. Now, when it comes to staying on the topic of NetherRealm, right after that, then they released Injustice 2. Which has some of the best DLC I've ever seen. Like, you got characters that, and this is why I believe that the DLC in Mortal Kombat 11 is going to be incredible. Like, you have the Ninja Turtles, who have never played like anybody ever played in a fighting game. You have 4 characters in one that you can swap at will. Like, so you're using 4 characters at once, and it's incredible. Like, I've never seen anything like that.
But that goes back to the valid point that you mentioned earlier, is that when they spend hours just deciding the new moves, even the voice acting, the design, this is totally different and completely new. It justifies a DLC. It's not just they took one character that they had, just added some voice acting, different design, here's a new character.
Right.
When they spend that amount of time, I would have no problem at all buying the DLC.
Yeah.
Because I would love the character because it's a character that I enjoy, and they put effort in it. They have different moves. They behave like something totally different. They are themselves. I mean, that's effort. But just to buy, Jason's skin and put it on Luke Cage doesn't make sense.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. No, Harley, no, you're wrong. The horror pack wasn't like that. The Jason and Jason, Alien, and whoever it was, they were new characters.
Yeah, they were all new, legit characters.
They weren't skins.
I'm reading character. I'm reading an article that said it was just skins and they kept the same moves.
Nah, cause like Jason, you could like kill him and then he'll come back alive or some shit. So that was like Mortal Kombat's really, really good with DLC. Like I don't mind paying for new characters. Sometimes I don't even mind paying for cosmetics. Like it depends what it is. Like
I'm the same way.
I paid for what did I pay for? I think I paid for one Naruto DLC where it was a cosmetic, but it made Naruto look like Goku, and I paid for it because like I'm a fan, and I'm like, oh shit, like that's dope. Like, I'm trying to like play my game with him. So
that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with a company honestly trying to get money. It's saying, okay, this is for the fans. The fans want, say, this new Spider-Man skin or whatever. We're going to give it to you, and say, I know they didn't charge a price, but this is just an example. But we put it out there for fans, and we charge a little money. We make some money. That's honest business, supply and demand, right? And sometimes game companies, like especially indie developers, they don't know that their game is going to be successful when they release it. So they don't plan DLC. The game releases, it's super super popular. So then they make DLC in response. There's nothing wrong with that. It's supply and demand. People love Dead Cells, right? If Dead Cells was a failure when it came out, then they would never have made any DLC for it. That was a direct response to how much people love that game.
Great game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, great game and great DLC. So what do you guys think of the whole paying money for multiplayer advantages? I mean, is there anyone here that thinks that's okay or a good idea?
no.
I never liked pay to win.
No.
I've played a lot of MMORPGs, but I've never supported pay to win.
Yeah,
That's, like,
I don't like
totally
it
against what I was.
when it gives me an advantage in the game or something like that. That's going too far. And honestly, it's person specific, because if somebody wants to like advance faster, they don't have the time to grind, then I can see it okay for them. But for me, like, I don't like it. I'd rather do it myself.
No, but play the game more and use skill.
Okay.
I think that's why people like Fortnite a lot, because Fortnite didn't really have that. It was like you use your skill. Like if you're good, you're good. If you're not good, you're good, and you don't pay for anything else but cosmetics.
Okay.
And like all the things that you could find in the game are anyway available if you paid it. I'm pretty sure there are a couple of MMORPGs that do it the same way. Like you don't get anything special. All the equipment and all the legendary stuff you can get if you grind and find it in the game itself.
I'm one of those that have no problem with it, because I maybe don't have neither the time nor the patience to grind. So if I can pay for DLC, not to just, pay for getting the end level or my character leveled up, I'm not saying that, but if there's a boost XP, I will get it.
Yeah, but they can't do that, because if I don't have money, you're telling me just because someone else is richer than me that they're gonna be better than me in the game. That's bullshit.
I'm not saying it's fair and then it's something I do in order to catch up with people that have the time. You know what I mean? It's that from that perspective. If I'm playing a game, which we're talking about multiplayer games now, because you cannot get an advantage unless it's multiplayer. So we're talking about getting some boosts in order to make up for example, someone that needs to grind 5 hours to get a gun in a game, which is a great gun, and instead I can go to the store and buy that gun.
No, I don't like that. If you didn't put 5 hours in, you shouldn't be able to get what I put 5 hours in to get.
Depends on the game.
No, I'm saying I'm not in favor of it. But if I have the option, I would do it.
See, the only problem is, and that makes it pay to win. And somebody who even somebody who has the time to do it, but they have an endless amount of money, they just pay and get all the top stuff. People like me who start from the bottom.
Have you guys heard of the game Guild Wars?
Oh, yeah.
See, yes, I used to play Guild Wars 2 quite a while back, And I had two characters. One I grinded and made him reach level 80. During my process of this grind, I noticed a lot of other players who had already bought, the expansion packs where you'd automatically start at level 80. But one thing that I really liked is that even though they were at a higher level than me, I could defeat them not just because they're higher level, but because, if you grind, you have the option of enhancing your attacks or your skills as per what you are good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? and that's very
that kind of balances that that fact where if you pay to win the entire thing, then it kind of cuts it off, because you can be defeated by someone who's 20 levels lower than you, but has better skills than you do.
That's when it comes to skill.
Yeah, that's not. I was going to mention an example which I see myself. It's in FIFA. You can buy and invest so much money in that game in order to buy, not directly, but through packs, which give you random outcome. Mm-hmm. Or you can call it crates, whatever it is. You can buy it with real money. In FIFA, it's packs. You buy packs. They can have the best players in it, and you can have normal players in it. And there are people on YouTube that spend 15,000, 20,000 on opening packs.
Yeah, but
I meet these people in the weekly stuff, the weekly champions or whatever it's called, the FIFA Ultimate. And even if they have the full best team, they don't really know how to play. And that's exactly the point that he was making, is that yes, you have the better stuff, but you're not good at it because you haven't gone through the grind and you don't really know how to make the best use out of these players or this weapon or the game.
Yeah, but Harley, I don't consider with EA microtransactions, I don't consider that pay to win, because with EA microtransactions, it's more like gambling, where you pay and you may get someone who's good, you may not. I may get someone who's good without paying, I may not. But when I say pay to win, I mean in Call of Duty, I don't know if they still do it, but you used to get stuff, you might level up to level 10 or whatnot, or you get a gun. And with that gun, or that leveling up that you've just done, when I shoot you, and I've shot you clear before you shoot me, you're sponging my bullets. But you'll shoot me one time with this gun, boop, I'm dead. That to me, that's not fair, because that's not skill. You've just got this gun that I can't buy, that's just gonna one shot me, and what can I do about it? And then you're gonna say you're better than me, fam. That's the worst thing. I hate when people say, "Oh, I'm better than." No, you're not. You're richer than me. That's fine.
Well, I mean, the Ultimate Offender, right, was the Battlefield series. I don't know if you guys remember Battlefield 4. They had this $50 DLC. It was called the Ultimate Shortcut Bundle.
Yeah,
they called it Shortcut Bundle. Yeah, you remember that? So basically, it unlocked every top tier weapon that other people had to grind, and I'm serious, for fucking weeks for. If they put in 6 to 8 hours every day, they had to get weeks in to get these weapons. And these weapons were incredibly stronger. Yeah, there were one.
Jim?
Parents' credit card to get these weapons.
It's not
I don't
fair.
think that's fair.
No, it's not fair, but I would buy it.
Yeah.
I think
but one thing that Guild Wars did for both game, one thing Guild Wars did to invalidate something like that was that they had regions in each of the map, right? Where up to a certain region, you get only certain type of weapons. You couldn't bring something that's an extremely high level weapon.
That's cool. I like that.
Level 20 or level 30, because that would be totally unfair. So
that's actually really cool.
You start off in, depending on which region you start off in, you're limited to that weapon. But as you progress and get to the ends of the game, you can use whatever weapon you have.
So a bit more in Harley's defense, I'll use another example. Rainbow Six Siege, right? They have these characters, right? They release them through season passes. You can pay $30 to get these characters right away. I think it's 2 or 3 or 4. I can't remember. But, they have special abilities and whatever. Or you can grind through the game quite a bit and get I think 20,000 Rainbow Six points. And then you
Apex Legends is doing that as well.
Yeah. Right, so that's fine, and I understand it, because there are the type of gamers out there like you, Harley, who's you can put in a couple hours, maybe maybe 3 or 4 on the weekend, So you will never get these characters any other way.
Yeah.
So,
There are some. That's happened to me when I was playing.
I think as long as
Call of Duty
whatever
as
you're
well.
buying doesn't affect any attributes that are skill based, like your attack power, your speed. As long as none of these attributes, which are skill based, are altered by the payments, then it should be all good. Like that's just what I think.
But then it doesn't
It
become pay
also
to win.
depends on the foundation of the game itself. Like, what type of game are you playing that you're doing this in? Like, for instance, with Warframe. Warframe, you can kind of do that. You need the new Prime Warframes come out. You can get them. Like, for instance, I just bought one. And my friend was going to get one too. I asked him if he was going to buy one. He was like, nope, I'm going to take my 2 to 4 hours, just go out and get it myself.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like with Warframe, you can buy this stuff, but you can also get it in game. It takes a lot of time. You got to grind, but you can still get it for free. You don't have to actually pay to get it. So you can still. That's kind of like jumping ahead, but still, like with Warframe, the game is free. The game is incredible. So it's so fun. You want to play it and grind to get whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Like, you can put in your hours, grind, find the weapon or whatever you want for free, or you could just spend a little bit of money and get it. But as long as the end of the day, the way you play comes down to the skill, then it's fine. But if you have a purchase that directly alters how strong or how you play the game, then that's something I don't agree on. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, but for me, as a casual player that has limited hours, I will never be able to play the game at the same level as other players. Because by the time I set my foot out, I'm dead.
I think.
And this is a problem that I have. Because I can start playing Call of Duty, I spend 2 hours. Other people are spending, in the same amount of time, they're spending 40 hours. But we're matched up in the same games and everything. As long as they make different, criteria when they're selecting players to play together, it's okay because we're all the same level. But if by someone that has a higher rank gets access to much better weapons, and I have absolutely no chance unless I buy that.
Yeah, match pairing is a really important factor into this. Who you're paired up with, where you're playing, that's like a really big thing that affects what kind of purchases you make. Because
Call of Duty, when I used to play
if you buy something that's meant for max level equipment and you automatically go to max level, and you end up getting paired with some noobs who are like level 5 or something, you're gonna kill them like anything, right? So you should just match pairing is like a really important factor into it.
It actually is. It actually turns away sometimes consumers, and no game developer wants that. You start out the game and you manage with a bunch of people who've already been playing for months. Your first experience is you getting slapped all over the place. Okay, I'm not playing this anymore.
I think with me, like the only reason why, well, the only time I have an issue with it is if the game allows PvP and allows higher level characters to invade where you are and fight you. Like you're level 1, they're level 100, and they can still fight you like that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Bad design.
Region and level restricted. If you keep region and level restricted, then it's good. But if that restriction is not there, then it's stuck.
But there's certain games that are no restriction and you're all in the same world. They've bought all the golden infinite weapons. You're running around with plastic swords, and they can still show up where you are and then just pretty much shoot your head off and Robocop you. Like that's what I don't like.
I don't like that.
Not fair.
RuneScape used to have that until they came up with the update to level up the restrictions. And that was so sad.
If you're all playing the same where there needs to be restrictions there. If you have the ability to buy gear, buy top tier stuff, and I know it's randomized, but it's still top tier stuff anyway because you don't want to pay for BS. So if they have that, then there needs to be stuff in place to kind of like keep people in the same level or whatever like that, so that you're not starting the game and getting obliterated.
And that's another point that I would like to make. I am totally not in favor of these random crates. I would rather have something at a fixed price with a guarantee that I am buying that item instead of they making it a lottery and a gamble. I don't
I don't like those either.
Yeah, but why do I have to buy these items? Why can't I just get in-game currency that I can earn and then just buy it with that?
Yeah, but I mean,
a lot of mobile MMORPGs are now using in-game currency for you to do that. You could either pay it using credit card or whatever, or you could do quest tokens and stuff to get in-game currency to use them to buy whatever equipment you want.
To sort of hold Mortal Kombat 10 to the fire a bit, because they get a free pass sometimes. What did you guys think about the easy fatalities?
Yeah,
so you could buy 30 easy fatalities for $5.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
That you could use in multiplayer.
Are you serious? They had that?
Yeah.
But fatalities how they're supposed to be. Why would you want to have easy fatalities for a certain amount of money? Like if I'm playing Mortal Kombat, my favorite part of Mortal Kombat are the fatalities. I don't want to pay.
It's like I don't like it, but at the same time I don't have to buy it. Like it's completely optional.
Don't you agree?
Isn't that like instant kills?
Sorry. No,
it's not instant kill. It's only like you hit a couple buttons and you do a fatality automatically at the end.
But this is the thing. Using your point that you mentioned, anything, if it doesn't change exactly the outcome, because for you to arrive to the finish him, you have already won.
Yeah.
So you're just doing the fatality.
Yes.
Yeah.
So technically, it's not changing the outcome.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the game.
Well,
So
a lot of us would
what's
think
wrong
it's
with that, then?
ridiculous. I mean, there's some people out there who's
trying
not.
to use that now.
Yeah, but fatalities are like a pretty big part of Mortal Kombat. If it was any other game, I would understand, but like that's a pretty big thing Mortal Kombat's known.
I mean, but there's people out there who might not be as dexterous, right? But I mean, if that's the case, I'm sort of asking the question: then why are you playing fighting?
Yeah, exactly.
games?
Yeah.
Yeah, but with Mortal Kombat,
Forward, low punch, high punch to do a fatality, then
yeah, but with Mortal Kombat, fam, I don't know everybody's fatality, you know.
They should find a way to do the same match pairing, like you're saying. There might be people who have low dexterity, like you mentioned, so maybe they should pair them with other people who have low.
No, but the thing is with that easy fatalities, fam, I don't know everybody's fatality on the game. So if I'm playing as Raiden, I don't want to just pause the game and go and look for his fatality and then I have to. No, let me just press this button and let me see what the fatality is.
Laziness then. That's just lazy.
Now you're forcing yourself to always buy those packs because now you're trained.
Yeah, but first of all.
In just 2 buttons.
Yeah, but first of all.
When the pack expires.
No. First of all, fam, it's £2 for the small fatality, fam. That's nothing. Second of all, I can't be lazy.
It is a subscription because it's
That's a subscription after a while, right? Like, if that's how you're going to do it, then you're always going to have that, right? So that's subscription now.
But and I may be wrong, but I believe you could also get those easy fatality tokens in game by playing the ladder or whatever like that. So it's something that you didn't have to buy. You could actually get it in game. It's just buying it, you get more and faster.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that for every game mode or only for certain modes? Because if it's for like every game mode, I don't know about like.
I don't think you can do it for
like if I'm
online.
An actual person, I don't.
Yeah, I don't even think you can do it online though. I think that's only for offline.
But either way, fam, by the time I'm doing this easy.
It wouldn't be fair to do an easy fatality on anyone.
Yeah, but by the time I'm doing this easy fatality, fam, I've already beat you. So you're just standing there dead anyway. So shut up and take this fatality, bro. What do you mean?
It's no issue.
You make a point.
It's no issue with being fair or not because by that time you already did it anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Putting in the combinations easier, so it really has no.
Part is already over. The skill part where I'm better than you or the opponent is better than me. That's already over. It's been decided.
Bro, shut up and get your head chopped off, bro. What do you mean?
It has no bearing on the game. It's just, like doing things easier. So I don't really have an issue with it in that regards. Me personally, I don't like it because I like actually doing the fatalities myself. But that's just personally.
Same.
But also, like, when people come over and, people are not, not everybody plays Mortal Kombat like that. So to say, just press this button, you can get the fatality out and everybody's happy.
That's kind of where my headspace is at. It doesn't give them any super advantage. And while I may think it's ridiculous, there's an audience out there for people who aren't able to learn a bunch of moves.
Right.
So if they want to throw down $5, get the easy fatalities.
I'm more of a Tekken guy than Mortal Kombat, actually.
Yeah, same. Something like that I'm okay with if it's like PvE, but when it comes to PvP, now I'm kind of like, is this okay? Is that okay?
Bro, take this easy fatality, bro. I hope it comes up on the screen. I used it too. Punch off your head with this easy fatality.
You got a little pacifier symbol just to let you know you used it.
So, this is a little off topic, but it's on topic. I just want to throw this out here so we can all laugh at it. One of the worst DLCs in history, I had to look it up, like I was a bunch of things. The worst DLC they consider in history is for the game called The Saboteur. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Oh, really?
Like a
I didn't know
black
that
and white
DLC.
Yeah, it's a black and white game, and as you did things, it brought back color. It was kind of open world, used stealth.
Yeah.
Pretty good game, and I actually wanted to play it. They added DLC called The Midnight Show. So basically, in the open world game, you could go into brothels, and there'd be like strippers and different stuff like that. You would pay $5 to have them remove their tops.
What?
And have nudity. So you literally paid $5 for tits and ass.
Or you could just get it on PC and get this patch that removes.
Or you could get up and go to the strip club. You could go to the strip club and do the same thing.
Well, that's a lot more expensive.
How crazy was that Cassie Cage fatality? Dude, that hurt me just watching that.
Like, every fatality I see hurts. Like, that's what I said. When it comes to Mortal Kombat, they put so much thought and work into this. Like, I don't know how we're still getting grossed out 11 games later.
I wouldn't mind a fatality DLC.
Yeah, that would be.
I'll take that. If you're gonna make it like that, yeah, I'll take that. The fatality DLC.
If you're paying for a fatality, it's gonna be the most gruesome shit ever.
Yeah, like at least I'm gonna enjoy it. But yeah, like to wrap up the podcast. By the way, I was streaming this by accident, so I didn't even record it. But whatever.
You saved it in your Twitch library.
It's streaming now, so it should be saved. So I can just what's it called? But people were commenting and I didn't even realize. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So what I was gonna wrap up with is, when you think about playing games like back in the day, like PS2, N64, blah blah blah, do you think DLC would have worked in like those eras where we don't really have multiplayer and online and stuff? We just had.
Oh no, it wouldn't. It definitely wouldn't, because
the consoles didn't even have like access.
Being able to get it, like it would be you jump over hurdles just to get the DLC, so it would have never worked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, say for example,
turn around.
You know, like N64 had the Rumble Pack, which was technically kind of DLC.
Pushing out DLCs would have been impossible.
No, but I'm saying like they could have made it happen. Like Nintendo 64 had stupid stuff like Rumble Pack, and they had, what else did they have? I think Nintendo 64 had, was it N64 where you added something, or it might have been Sega CD, where you added something to the console and it kind of made the game look better, or some stupid, I can't remember who it was. But like, for example, say you buy the game and you bought those, remember those cheat discs that you could buy, those X cheats or whatever it is. You buy the disc and it comes with a bunch of DLC on it, and then you can add that to the game. Like, do you think that would have been like popular? Like, do you think people would have bought that back in the day? Because people did buy the cheat disc.
I mean, yeah, but it's so much more extra work you got to do just to get it, and they definitely complain about that because the value wouldn't be worth it.
I mean, look how many people bought the Super Nintendo versions of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Right? Those all could have been just DLC. They would have worked.
If there was a DLC, I would have preferred having a DLC for the original and Need for Speed Most Wanted. That would have been cool if they had a DLC for that. But that was a pretty good game.
Imagine some of the games they could have had DLC for. Like, yeah, DLC's bad, but there's some games where you're like, ooh, if they added like some stuff. Because I remember back in the day, there was always rumors like, oh, they could have added, Noob was supposed to be in the game, but they didn't have time, and this thing was supposed to be in, and then you could break the game so you could go to certain maps.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Fucking, yeah.
So I think it would have been hard, but I don't know. Like certain games, like imagine if Super Mario, Nintendo don't really do DLC that much. They do it with Smash Bros, but they don't like.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the only thing they really do DLC in.
Yeah, they don't like DLC heavy. Like Pokemon, technically, they could have a DLC for Pokemon.
They aren't really like proper DLC. Like they're just like small packs that you keep adding onto it.
Yeah, and they're really like successful. Like Nintendo, I don't know, this DLC thing, I think it's just required for more money, to be honest, because it's not needed.
Well, I always talk about the good old days. There was a time, let's remember, Dreamcast was the first one to do DLC, and then it became Xbox 360, and a little bit on the PS2 side, but not really. But the 360, almost 95% of all of the DLC was free. It wasn't until like near the end of that cycle where they're like, hey, we can make some money here. There's money to be made. And you can't knock their hustle, right? They were right. They're 40% now of their revenue is DLC. But I remember the good old days when the shit was free. And they said, hey, we can release some content for the game because we appreciate that you spent $60 on it.
Mm-hmm. I blame EA.
True, some people still do it. They still release some free shit. That's cool, but a lot don't.
Sure, DLC is not a necessity. It's just like, and it's an expansion. It's an expansion to your experience. That's it. It's not like it's a compulsory thing which you absolutely need to have.
It's an expansion to the experience, but we're in the day and age of if you have an iPhone 6 and I have an iPhone 8, I'm more superior than you because I have the best and you don't have. That's how it is. Like if you have DLC, you're more superior on the game and you're a better person because I don't have it. So you're having more fun than me.
You're a better person.
That's how it is. You're having more fun than me because you got more.
True. I'm laughing because of how true it is. It's fucking true.
It's true, right? Like, for example, when people
Last of Us Left Behind DLC came out, what did you guys think of that? Like, what was your opinion on it?
I didn't play it, but I heard it was like a whole new game.
It was
I haven't
good.
played it either.
It filled in a section of the story that people were wondering about what happened to Ellie before.
That's another example of DLC
great.
done right.
Yeah, done right. Really good.
And it adds more to the experience that we can all agree that Last of Us was a complete experience.
Oh yes.
And any DLC you get is icing on the cake. Even the multiplayer was incredible. Like and I thought I would hate it, but the multiplayer it worked. But the DLC they released for Last of Us was amazing.
For the next one. It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't even know how long this went on. It's gone on an hour and 13 minutes. So we'll stop it there for now. Yeah, so I think DLC is an interesting one because it's kind of new. Like it's a kind of new thing. I think it's gonna be around for a long time because it makes a fuck ton of money. Like it makes, especially mobile games. Oh my Jesus, it makes a fuck ton of money. So it's gonna stick around. But there's game companies like Fallout done well. Witcher was done really well. Mortal Kombat's quite decent. Like so, there's ways they do it great. But then you have your Capcoms and stuff which just spoil. Like they just spoil it for everyone. So yeah, and as well, like it's optional, so you don't have to buy it. But again, in 2019, it's like you don't have to buy iPhone 10. But boy, when I've got iPhone 5, and you have an iPhone 10, I'm gonna want to buy this iPhone 10. So
as long as they do the DLC justice and make it like value for money, then it's good. Then I wouldn't mind paying for additional downloadable content. But if it's just going to be crap, then why would I want to waste my money?
Yeah, but then again, the question is, and you can talk about last week's topic as well. Are games too long? Well, if somebody's bringing a 100-hour game and your game's only 30 hours, but you bought out DLC for it, then well, why couldn't you just do a 50-hour game instead of just releasing DLC? So
it depends on the story. It depends on the storytelling experience, because there can be 100-hour game which doesn't have that good of a storytelling experience, but maybe a 30-hour game has a really sharp story experience. So like, it depends on like exactly what you're looking for, what you're going.
yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, thanks you guys for joining the second podcast. We'll do this again next week. Next week, Harley, are you ready for this one? Are you ready for the topic next week, Harley?
Of course I am.
Next week, we're gonna discuss Marvel.
Ooh.
But let me tell you what we're gonna discuss.
Oh, I am so ready.
Let me tell you what we're gonna discuss. We're not gonna discuss the Avengers film. Well, it'll probably come in. But what I want to discuss, because Fox has bought Disney now, I want to discuss the franchises that are not in the MCU at the moment, and whether or not number one, that they'll fit, and also how they can add like those different franchises. So, for example, like how can they add X-Men into the MCU? Like how would they do it? Bearing in mind.
Ace, I don't know if you heard, but Kevin Feige recently said that they won't be adding X-Men.
I don't know, but we'll discuss that all next week. I don't know, but we'll discuss that all next week. How they'll add them, what they could do. You know, because obviously certain people, like if Thanos has done this snap thing, like where have the X-Men been this whole time? But we'll discuss that next week. So just think about what you want to say and write notes or whatever. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of DLC. Is it good or not? Like, do you people prefer DLC? Do you buy DLC? Like, what do you think about it? Let us know in the comments down below. And just shout out your channels, guys, real quick. Your Twitch or whatever. So no one wants to shout out their channel. So
start. Name's M-Dog, usually known as Equimog or Struggle Nation. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Struggle Nation. Twitch is twitch.tv/ECOMOG. Follow the stream, enjoy the stream. Struggle for life. Well, no, struggle forever. Definitely not forever. Struggle for life. What the hell am I talking about?
I don't know.
No.
It might feel like so, but it is
dedication.
Man says struggle forever, but struggle forever. Jesus, so we're not coming out. We'll never leave. Tim's not here, but listen, he's got Twitch channel for Bushido 808. You can go follow him. Tim does listen. You want to see Tim play games, because this guy, he doesn't know. You see him, yeah. He's got mental problems, fam. You want to see him play Sekiro. I haven't even seen him play yet, so I need to go watch some of his clips. Anyone else? Darkblade?
Damn, shout out, okay. Hey, Darkblade XX. Catch me on Twitch. On YouTube, catch me over at The Dark Enforcers. I play a lot of different games, mostly Warframe, DCUO. See me playing sometimes Final Fantasy. A lot of different games over there.
good.
We all about to start playing Final Fantasy.
So that's it.
Yep, the DLC about to launch. Can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
You can catch Harley on every one of those channels, by the way. Harley's all over the gov. And Green God, you got anything?
No, I don't really have anything.
He's a writer, innit? So listen, he's about to write these games from these story games. So watch out for him. He's about to write this God of War 2 and etc. So watch out for him.
Get your pockets ready.
That'll be so cool. That'll be peak.
Alright guys, anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for joining, appreciate it. Catch you next week for that Marvel discussion, which is going to be heated, because I know Hardy's ready for Marvel. Anytime he's ready. Anyway, later. Peace.
Adios.